So I was on the internet a couple of weeks ago, and this thing jumped out at me. Apparently, there was a row in the state of Texas. If I'm not mistaken, it was down around. I may be mistaken. I think it was down around El Paso. As Marty Robbins once sang, out in a West Texas town called El Paso. There was a teacher who had gone on vacation to Colorado. And this teacher, while she was out there, visited a lot of the weed shops that are out there. They're all over the place. If you go now to Colorado, they were among the first states in the union to legalize the use of recreational marijuana. I think there are now 7 states and the District of Columbia that allow recreational use, and then 19 or 20 other states that have some form of it, some for medicinal purposes, some with more restricted laws, but it is now roughly in half the country where you can go do this. Anyway, this teacher went out to Colorado on vacation and participated in what is something very legal out there, and then came back to go to work in Texas, to go back to teach in Texas, and was tested. And there was a move afoot legally to have her license to teach suspended for 2 years. She fought it in court, and she won. Judge down there issuing a ruling here a couple of weeks ago saying that in his opinion, he agreed with the teacher, comparing punishing her for pot use in Colorado to penalizing someone who was returning from a vacation in Las Vegas. But it raises the question that if you are going to do that, if you are going to go to another state and do that, you may come back, and if you work in a business that has mandatory drug testing for whatever reason, you might find yourself in a bit of a quandary. It doesn't sound like it may always be what happens in these states stays in these states. But I've got on the line right now someone to talk about this. He's a Dallas-Fort Worth attorney, Jim Pikl, and he's kind enough to give us a couple of minutes of his time here Saturday afternoon on 700 WLW. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Did I line that up correctly? This is a teacher that went to Colorado, did something that was very legal, and then came back to her job in El Paso, and the people that employed her wanted to fire her because she tested positive for marijuana. Is that the way it worked?
Just about everything you said was incorrect. No offense, but what happened was she went to Colorado, ate some marijuana brownies, came back to Texas, tested positive for drugs, and was suspended. No court has heard this yet. It's only gone to an administrative law judge. But here's the meme that's wrong about that whole thing. It is not legal to consume marijuana in Colorado. It is only not a violation of Colorado state law. It is still a violation of federal law to consume marijuana anywhere in this country. Marijuana is still a Schedule I drug under the Controlled Substances Act, and it's still a federal offense to possess it, sell it, or consume it.
Okay, well,
so what she did in Colorado was illegal.
All right, so let me stop you right there. It's not legal to do that in Colorado. You can't.
It's not legal to do it anywhere.
To do it anywhere. Okay, so what's going on now in Colorado?
The federal government has just been run for 8 years by somebody who decided to only enforce the laws that he wanted to enforce and not the laws that were on the books. And that's going to change. Jeff Sessions is Attorney General. It's going to change.
So this is a warning shot then for people that want to go out there and maybe partake in this, correct?
It's the ALJ in Austin basically didn't give a warning shot. He said, "Oh, it's okay because it's okay in Colorado." He's just wrong. It's not okay in Colorado. And the other thing is, she was fired or suspended not because of a criminal law violation, but because she violated her teaching employment contract, which says if you test positive for drugs, you can be disciplined.
So she must have had some mandatory testing when she came. I mean, there must be something that goes along with her job. I mean, why would she then? It had to be part of her job that she was tested every so often, correct?
It is. It's part of all teachers in Texas have random drug testing, and she just came up on the lottery, or maybe in El Paso they test them all. I don't know.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you think that what's going on in Colorado, and I don't know, it looks like there have been several states that have followed it. It appears that this may be coming to an end. Is that what you're saying?
Well, every state's in charge of their own laws. Colorado can make it not a violation of Colorado state law to smoke marijuana, but Colorado can't do anything about federal law. That has to be done in Congress.
You're right.
And so you have two overlaying parallel systems of law here. You have state law and federal law. And the states can't do anything about the federal law. And the federal law is still in place. So when you smoke pot in Colorado or Washington or California or wherever, you may not be violating state law, but you are violating federal law.
So, okay, so help me then through this case with this woman. All right, she came back to Texas, right? And this is in the El Paso area, right?
That's correct.
Okay,
yeah. Marty Robbins, good reference. Yeah.
Okay, so she came back to El Paso. She faced with her job to keep her license. She faced mandatory testing. Just give me an idea of how many people are. Of course, that's not a fair assessment because I'm asking you to come up with a number that would be arbitrary. But just give us an idea of just maybe how misinformed people are going to those places, thinking that, hey, this is party central, and not really aware of the ramifications that might go along with it.
I've seen at least 20 stories on the internet, all of which set it up just like you did before I came on the air. What she did in Colorado was legal. Then she came to Texas where it's not legal. That whole premise is incorrect.
Because federal law trumps laws of particular states is what is.
It's not so much that trumps. It's not a supremacy clause issue. It's that there are parallel laws in this country. There are state laws and federal laws which run side by side. Some overlap and some don't. Mm-hmm. This one happens to overlap. And so you're violating federal law even though you're not violating state law. And by the way, the police officers in Colorado are sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States also. So when they don't arrest people in Colorado for violating federal law, they're violating their oaths.
So what we have here, and again, you're the lawyer. What we have here are two laws that are running at cross purposes, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, okay. So what happens? Like, let's just take this out a year or two, or we'll see how far out it goes. When and if that law is enforced in Colorado, all of those places in Colorado and Washington, they're out of business at this point?
Yes. Well, they'd be out of business or they'd be going to jail, which is hard to run a business from jail, I guess. So
yeah,
and they'd be going to federal prison, not state prison. That's the difference.
Federal prison and not state prison. So if
they violated federal law, right?
Because they violated federal law. So the headline here is what on this, Jim? What is the headline here? Know the federal law as opposed to what the local authorities or what the local the local law says. You have to know what the federal law is. Is that the headline?
Yes, it is. It's a good headline. Better check with federal law before you do anything.
Yeah. And what becomes of this woman, in your opinion?
Well, she's been gone through the administrative law process. So an ALJ, not a court judge, but an ALJ has denied suspension that the school district wanted. So the school district now has the opportunity to appeal to an actual court, a judicial court. Mm-hmm. And that would be in Austin also, because that's where they all are. And an Austin district judge would clearly side with the school district in this case. There would be no way that the judge couldn't do it. So she would lose, and she would lose the suspension argument, even though she's won it at the administrative level.
This is eye-opening in the sense that, again, I think a lot of people think what stays in Vegas, happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas, but it doesn't apply to this at all.
No, and the analogy to gambling is not the same. It's a bad analogy. The ALJ used that, but it's not a federal offense to gamble. That's the problem. That's all controlled by state law.
Right.
So when you go to Las Vegas and gamble and you come back to Texas with your winnings, that's not a violation of federal law or state law. So that analogy that he used is just completely preposterous.
Yeah. Interesting. Jim Pikl, are you involved at all in any litigation like this?
I do a lot of civil rights litigation as part of my practice. So, yeah, I see this kind of stuff all the time.
So you would know. In Dallas-Fort Worth, Jim Pikl. Jim, thank you for your time. We appreciate the enlightenment on this.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
Yep. There you go. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas only when it applies to gambling.